But then, so you go through that through high school. Now, how are you then plotting your way into the music industry? Because if you think about, we get into the 90s and the industry switches from, you mentioned Phyllis Hyman and all those time Luther. They were more sophisticated sort of R&B acts, wearing suits,
Yeah.
dressing gowns, and then we get into the 90s and we have Uptown with Mary and
Anita.
SWV
Yeah.
and Jodeci. How did you? So how were you? Did you start to change your music direction as you were getting ready to try and get into the industry, or how was that transition for you?
Well, I didn't really have to do that. I just, I enjoyed the artists that were out at the time. I mean, that's just, I listened to, contemporary music, the younger artists that came, that were like my contemporaries. And then what happened was by 6 degrees of separation, this gentleman that was like, wanted to manage me, and I gave him a shot. He introduced me to Wendy Creedle, who was then working, who was Andre Harrell's son's mom. Uh,
Okay.
she was working at, she was an A&R at MCA. She was creating a girl group, and I made the audition, and what was I gonna say? Oh, I'm sorry. And I made the audition, and it was five of us, three girls, and one of them, I mean, four women, including myself, not including myself, five of us, one of which was Free from 106 in Park, who is like
Oh,
my sister. That's my spirit sis. And we were called Different Shades of Brown.
wow.
And we signed did a production deal with MCA, and she got Heavy D to produce our three records so we could get for the demos, so we could get signed or whatever.
Yeah.
All of that just for me to get a deal with him, like for him to sign me. Like it was weird. Like the trajectory was that way.
Yeah, but then did you ever contemplate, was the group something you thought about that you wouldn't mind doing, or was it big, or were you always trying to be a solo artist? What was that for you?
I I am a team player, and I love to sing, and I love music. So however it came, I was gonna do it. I wanted to experience. I was young. I was 20 what, two? Yeah, I was like 22. Why not? Amazing singers. They were great young women. We got along. I thought it was a great opportunity, and I didn't think it would be something that I would have to be married to, depending on how successful it was.
Yeah,
Who knows? I knew that if I did want to do something solo, that I probably would be able to.
yeah.
It just worked out that it just so happened that the group didn't go anywhere, but everybody ended up moving, doing different things uh, on their own. Uh, and and that's how, I mean, I knew Hev socially, but that's professionally how we got connected.
Okay. I mean, growing up and living in New York, seems as if everyone's coming to New York to get a record deal. If you growing up with everyone, did you think it would be easier or was it harder than you thought?
I didn't think about it. I knew it was going to happen. I didn't even have a stress. Like, it's so funny. It kind of just, things just kind of landed in my lap. Um, because I knew that eventually something was going to give, because I was, my gift was making room for me. I was
Wow.
doing things that I wanted to do. Opportunities were coming. I took them. And then one thing leads to another. And I end up with a record deal. I end up signed to Uptown Records, like out of nowhere. Because from, I'm going to tell you the story. So from the day when we were recording with the group, right? Like I was a party girl. Like I love to hang out. I was a drinker. I used to have fun. And I was late to the studio, and I was a little hungover, and my voice was a little right. So Hev was like, come on, man, I wanted you to sing lead on this particular song. And I was like, okay. So he made Dio, one of his team, uh made him run me around the block a couple of times to open my throat up. Right. So I do the song, And it's like, fine. He was like, listen, I want you to do some reference vocals for me. So I'll call you soon and you come, get paid. And I was like, wonderful. So he doesn't, I didn't hear from him. So it's like December 22nd is like close to Christmas. So I'm like, yo, I haven't heard from him. Let me call him. So I called him. I was like, what's up? I haven't heard from him. He's like, oh my God. He was like, I know, I'm my bad. I was gonna, call you. He said, what are you doing tomorrow? He said, like, I need you to do this record. And I said, cool. He said, okay, come in tomorrow. Meet me here. We did this record called It's All Right. So, we're in a professional studio, soundtrack to be exact. And I do the record. And after we finish, I'm still in the booth and I'm looking at him and he's at the board. He has his feet up on the board, like he's leaning back in the big chair and he's like, has his feet up, legs, ankles crossed on the board. So he's just like sitting there like this, like, just kind of like, I'm like, what the hell is he doing? He was like, you know what? He was like, you know what? He was like, you could keep this record. This is your record. You could keep this record. And I was like, oh, that's great. Like, thanks. I'm like thinking, oh, I have a professionally done demo. That's awesome. So I can have that in my arsenal. Awesome. And I'm like, okay. I was like, are we done? He was like, you know what? He says, listen, he was like, be here tomorrow. We're going to start your album. I was like, stop playing with me. It's like, be here tomorrow, be here on time, and we're starting your album tomorrow. And that was it. And within I don't even think it was 2 weeks. I was signed. I had a meeting. I met Andre, and I was signed to Uptown.
Wow. Okay, no, so you were the one who was late, hungover, shows up, and then the other four professionals, and he just singles you out. I mean, how did the others take it when
Well, the like, now remember, this is Beats Later. Nothing really happened with the group.
Okay.
It didn't, kind of just fizzled out. Nothing happened. Some of them decided to do other things because it wasn't moving as swiftly as they wanted, so it was just like, it wasn't like a big deal. Nobody really cared.
Okay.
But with the sound, I think whatever he saw, or whatever he was being obedient to, I'm glad it had nothing to do with me per se, as far as why he wanted to do it. He just saw something that he liked, or heard something, a sound, he felt a vibe, whatever it was. I mean, I know what it is. I know what I have. I know what I encompass. I mean, I'm the only Monifah. Nobody else can be me. So yeah. So whatever it was, he was obedient to it, and I'm forever grateful for that. It was amazing working with him.
So most of us wouldn't have realized that Andre was still around at the time you got signed. I thought he had gone to Motown. So what was how?
No, I was one of the last artists. It was So For Real and myself. I think I was actually the last artist that was successful on Uptown MCA, because my first project, my debut album, was on Uptown MCA. That's Andre was still at Uptown.
Okay, because I know it was yourself, the Lost Boys, and So For Real were the sort of the
last closed it out.
The last group. So so and you actually, what you're very synonymous for is because most of us, I've always loved Heavy D from his first album, but it was only when you came out that I didn't realize he can produce, because we never saw him as a producer with anything Heavy D and the Boys until he started with you, and then also with So For Real. So it took us by surprise that, wow, he can do this stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.
I begin to